And I want to request Sim Gopalan, the co-chair of Community Services, to introduce our guest speaker. Sim Garu, please go ahead, sir.
Yes, yeah. Thank you very much, Raju. Thank you everybody for attending these sessions today. Actually, South Asian Heart Center is something which a non-profit organization serving the community since 2006 for the past 14 years. South Asians the risk factors of South Asians are a little different from the general population. So that is why there has to be a special focus on this. And let me introduce you to Anita Sate, who will be presenting you on this. Anita had been with South Asian Heart Center right from the beginning, and she has created the Heart Health Coach Training Program in there, and she has coached more than 1,200 programs participants since 2006. And then she has also received the Santa Clara County Asian American Hero Award, and is a certified group life balance diabetes prevention program coach. And she's the founding member of the case management system, case management team in South Asian Heart Center, and developed the center's coaching program, policy and procedures, and the electronic participant tracking system. So with that, let me pass it on to Anita without any delay. And any questions any of you have, please post it in the chat, and so we'll address them towards the end. Thank you very much, Anita. Thank you for doing this, and it is you can continue.
Thank you, Sim. And thank you, Silicon Andhra, Rotary Club of Silicon Andhra, for inviting me this evening. I'm glad that we are focusing on health during this pandemic. Today we'll talk about another epidemic that is upon us, which is a heart disease, and which has been upon us for a long time, way before this pandemic started. And kind of things, the lifestyle changes that we need to do for heart disease as well as diabetes are also going to help people in fighting the pandemic, because it will help people to increase their immunity. So without further ado, let me just share my screen. Okay, can everybody see it?
Yes.
Okay. Today's topic is lifetime of meds, medications, or a lifestyle of MEDS. Let's go and see what that MEDS is. Some of you may have already guessed it, but I would like to ask, M is the first one, and we are recommended to doing it 20 minutes twice a day. Can somebody tell me what M is?
Meditation.
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 Okay, good. So M is meditation, and we encourage people to do it 20 minutes twice a day. There is a reason why, why this acronym starts with M, because meditation is that important for us to do. Sometimes I will just share a funny story. Sometimes, once when I asked this, somebody responded saying, M is for mithai. You eat 20 minutes twice a day. So next is E, and the recommendation is to do 30 minutes 5 times a week.
Exercise.
Exercise.
For exercise. So what we say is doing exercise 30 minutes 5 times a week, not necessarily just 150 minutes on a weekend, but kind of just like we need to eat daily, we need to exercise and be physically active on a day-to-day basis. D, as you can guess it, it's diet.
Diet.
And the for that is 0, 1, 2, 12. I'm going to hold off on telling you what that 0, 1, 2, 12 is, but through the presentation, maybe you can guess and you can tell me a little later. If not, I'll reveal it anyways. And lastly, S is for sleep. And the recommendation for sleep is 7 to 8 hours.
So is this 7 hours or 8 hours or, multiple times a day?
No, it's 7 to 8 hours once a day, at night particularly, and not during daytime. So M and S, if one can look at it like, bookends of the bookshelf. So they hold our whole lifestyle together. So just doing, working on food, just working on exercise is not enough. But along with exercise and diet, meditation and sleep are equally important. And if you start doing that, following those recommendations, that we really believe that everything else will start falling in place on its own. So let's discover these secrets and let's discover how to make it your own. So we have an enabling platform. M is for meditation, E exercise, D diet, S sleep, and it's a proven lifestyle intervention to reduce risk, enhance wellness, and promote longevity. And we have two programs at South Asian Heart Center. One is called Aim to Prevent, which is for all of us, which helps to reduce the risk of diabetes as well as heart attacks. But for group of people who want to, do some changes aggressively and with the more connections, more frequent connections, we also now have Stop Diabetes for the diabetes people who are pre-diabetic with the A1C of 5.6 to 6.5 to stop the disease, or if people are already have a diagnosis of diabetes, then in their case is to stop the progression of the disease further. So lifestyle, no matter at what stage you are in, it's always going to help you. So let's see, how do we embrace this? And first, let's look at the research, the evidence behind it. So initially, first research paper that I'm going to show you is Alameda Secret 7 study. This happened right in our backyard, Alameda County, in Alameda County. And this was published back in 1980. And they had 15,000 individuals who they followed for about 25 years. So this is a longitudinal study. And the criteria was healthy aging. What they were looking for was healthy aging. And how do they define healthy aging? Healthy aging means A, you are alive in the old age, and B, you can live on your own without taking, help or support from anybody else. Isn't that what all of us really want as we age? And the factors that they were looking for in this longitudinal study was adequate sleep, 7 to 8 hours a night, regular vigorous activity, 3 kilocalories per day, maintaining recommended weight, not smoking, none to moderate alcohol, eating breakfast daily, and eating meals regularly and not snacking. If you see, the four out of these 7, is something to do with our mouths, smoking or even the alcohol, breakfast, and eating healthy meals. And what they observed over 25 years is people who have had less than three habits, they had successful aging at the age of 67. Versus people who have 6 to 7 habits, they age successfully till age 78. So there is clearly, almost 11 years difference in the successful aging. If you have all the habits versus you just have 3 habits. The second study I would like to show you is impact of lifestyle on life expectancy at age 50. So this is a nurses study. This was published in 2014. And as you can see, 123,000 individuals were observed for 34 years. And what were the lifestyle factors they were observing for? They were observing, again, never smoking, BMI, body mass index between 18 to 25, 18.5 to 24.9, at least 30 minutes a day of moderate to vigorous physical activity, moderate alcohol intake, and high diet quality score, which is healthy eating with lots of fruits, vegetables, whole grains. That's what that high diet quality score was. And what did they observe over 34 years? So if you are a woman at age 50, and if you have a 0 lifestyle factors, which is a left side column, versus all 5 lifestyle factors, then your life expectancy, healthy aging changes from 29 more years to 43 more years. Look at the amazing difference between having a good life.
Please sound పెడతారా నా తీసేస్తాను.
And then if you are a man at age 50 with 0 lifestyle factors, then you are expected to age 25 more. You are expected to get 25 more years of healthy aging, versus if you have all 5 lifestyle factors, that 25 becomes 37 more years. So again, there is a good 12-year difference here too, if you adhere if you have the good lifestyle. And the third study that I want to share with you today is 4 pillars of prevention study. It's a German study, and this was done again for the people between the ages 35 to 65. And this was done on 23,000 individuals. There were 4 lifestyle factors that they were studying. It's never smoking, again, one more time, having a BMI of less than 30 in this case. Unlike the previous one, it was less than 25. And then 3.5 hours a week or more of physical activity, and adhering to healthy dietary principles, which is high intake of fruits, vegetables, whole grain bread, and low meat consumption. And what this study found out was, if you can see the first, there's diabetes, MI, myocardial infarction is heart attack, stroke, and cancer. So if you follow all these 4 lifestyle factors, then there is a 93% chance that you will not have diabetes, and there is a 81% chance that you will not have a myocardial infarction. So let's see why this is important for us. Now, if you look at India and Indian subcontinent, where all of us have come from, India and Indian subcontinent have, I think, 17 to 20% of the world population. Number may have changed to 20% by now. But look at the global burden that we have. 60%, 3 out of 5 have heart disease, and 1 out of 4 would be diabetic if we don't do something about it. Also, addition to that, if you look at the graph on the right-hand side, compared to white population, Chinese, Japanese, Filipino, South Asians are at 4 times higher risk for heart disease. And then not only just 4 times higher risk, but it's 25% of the heart attacks happen before age 40, and 50% of the heart attacks happen before age 55. If we compare ourselves to a Caucasian population, their heart attack happens, the typical average age to get heart attack is at 65 versus 40. So little bit about South Asian Heart Center. South Asian Heart Center was found back 14 years back in 2006 with the mission to reduce high incidence of diabetes and heart attacks with culturally tailored. These 3 words are very important. Culturally tailored, science-based, like I told you the 3 papers, I showed you evidence from 3 papers, there are many more, and lifestyle-focused services. So far, we have about 9,000 people who have gone through our program, and we have presence in 38 states. So our program, initially when we started, it was only in the Bay Area, but over time it has become virtual, and people from anywhere can really join the program. So this program is not just for you as you live in Bay Area, but any of your family, friends across any countries of the US or abroad can join the program anytime. And then we currently have presence in 38 different states, and 7 corporations have actually given us grant to, mid-sized corporations have given grant to screen all their employees. So we work with individuals, we also work with corporations in case, any of you have a company or work in a company where company would be interested in inviting us to give this talk and would consider, sponsoring this or having it available to employees, then please do connect with me for that too. But we have done it successfully for 7 corporations so far. And at that time, we screen their South Asian employees as well as non-South Asian employees, because there are lots of companies in the Valley where majority of the engineering workforce is South Asians. So there are few more, and we just work with everybody. So it's not limited to South Asian in that sense. What is our approach to address the epidemic? Let's look at that. So Our approach is, we call it aim to prevent. And what does AIM stand for? This is a snapshot of our website. You can look it up later. There is tons and loads of information about the lifestyle on our website. The AIM, A stands for assess. So let's look at what assess does. So we really feel that, traditionally, what we measure traditionally, like a lipid and blood glucose, blood pressure, does not, it's like a tip of iceberg, and it does not measure our risk markers sufficiently. So this is like a tip of iceberg. We all get our tests done at doctor's office, and typically we would do lipid as a prevention and fasting blood glucose. But we feel that there is more to it, which can give us more information. So we normally, and again, South Asian Heart Center is not to replace physicians. So we work with physicians hand in hand. We have, over 200 physicians sending their participants to us, and you are still under your physician care for all routine medical management, but think of South Asian Heart Center as your lifestyle pharmacy. So for lifestyle, we'll work with you, and for your medical management, you would still work with your physicians. So what are the other risk factors that we look at? So main risk factor is our lifestyle behaviors. So 79% of the research shows that 79% of the heart attacks are preventable. And lifestyle includes exercise, diet, and rest. Rest while asleep and rest while awake, and not smoking. We do, in addition to that, we do a genetic marker. We look at your family history, and we also ask you to do a genetic marker, LP(a), which is lipoprotein A. Then under dyslipidemia, we ask for doing ApoB, and we look at non-HDL cholesterol to ApoB ratio, which gives us cholesterol concentration. So when you look at your HDL and LDL numbers, they are volume, but you don't know how that, if you consider two jars, then both have, same volume, but one could have lots of little marbles where other could have large golf balls, and the number would be less. Similarly, just by looking at HDL and LDL, it doesn't tell us whether, your number could be same, but I may have lots of small dense particle, and you and I have same LDL value. You may have large buoyant particles, which are good to have. And through lifestyle changes, you are able to change this cholesterol concentration too, when you make the lifestyle changes. Then for inflammation, we ask people to do C-reactive protein, HSCRP. This is a general body inflammation, but heart disease and diabetes are both disease of inflammation. And for diabetes and dysmetabolism, we look at BMI, obesity, and hemoglobin A1C, and insulin resistance. So we do encourage people to do insulin tests too under the assess. And this is the comprehensive screening that we do under assess. The next phase is intervene. I stands for intervene. And this is where participants would talk to the health educator, recommendations are created, personal recommendations are created for them in the clinical side, as well as each one of these lifestyle: meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep. Now, we know we've discussed goals earlier. These are the very easy to remember mantras that we have created for you. So for meditation, we say daily practice of restful alertness. Exercise is first do the regular, get into the regular routine, then do the varied, and then vigorous. For the diet, the easy to remember mantra is more greens than grains. We as a South Asian community, a lot of us are vegetarians, and we feel that being a vegetarian, we are eating more vegetables. But when you start working with people, when a person like me starts working with people, then it helps them to understand how their vegetable intake is not enough and how they need to increase the vegetable intake. Sleep is routine of restful sleep. And we do have webinars in each one of these sections where we talk more science behind it. As you saw that our program is science-based. So each of the webinar explains the science behind our recommendations. Why are we saying 20 minutes twice a day? Why are we saying do the exercise? And the last stage in our program is, structured lifestyle facilitation with a personal coach. So I'm a chairperson for our coaching program. I was a first volunteer coach at the center. I got trained, and then I have a team of, typically our average team is 16 to 17 community members from the community who we have trained as coaches, and they are giving their time. Like some are, I have been with the center 14 years, but 13 years, 12 years, 5 years, 7 years. So we have these long-term coaches who come and help us. Because we are a nonprofit, there is a limited amount of staff, and rest all is done on the volunteer basis. So through coaching, you opt into the program and then you engage with the coach. What is a coach? Coach will help you facilitate the behavior change. We have all the information we need on our fingertips. Dr. Google is always ready to give us all the advice we want. But when it comes to practicing that advice, that's where the difficulty is, that the life happens, and lot of us, unless you are a very motivated individual where you will take it upon yourself to make all those lifestyle changes, for 95 or 99% of us, that little bit of additional help, monthly checking in with a coach and working with a coach in a baby step approach to make those sustainable lifestyle changes really, really helps. So coach is a facilitator, and coach helps, help individuals to make those changes that they want to make. We meet individuals where they want us to meet. And then when the success happens, we celebrate the success and move on to the next goal that they may have. So how are we doing in last 14 years? It's important to see how our, what our numbers show. So as you can, if you can read at the bottom of the slide, 4,000, we follow. So the program is for a year, and thereafter we follow with each and every individual every year. So from our side, we call, we send email and try to connect. Some people connect, some people don't. But there are 4,365 participants were followed over 12 years from 2006 to 2019, those who followed up with us. And what we are seeing is 58% of those have increased the physical activity. You may or may not, you will be or may not be able to imagine this, but some people come to us. When they come to us, they have no exercise routine. Having said that, this doesn't mean that they don't exercise, but it's pretty random and scattered, that they are not able to say confidently that, okay, I do 30 minutes exercise twice a week. So we start from there and build it up to 5 days a week. So participants, 58% of the participants have increased their physical activity from where they were to, to at least 5 days a week and more. And then 63% of our participants, did the vegetable consumption increase, and participant improving triglyceride levels. They are followed and they submit their lab results, and 57% participants have improved their triglyceride levels, and 62% participants improved their cholesterol ratio. So total cholesterol to HDL or triglycerides to HDL. So this is for our Aim to Prevent program. And I also told you that we also have a Stop Diabetes program over last 2-3 years. By the way, now we do have approval from CDC for our program. So it is CDC authorized program, Center of Disease Control. And in our Stop Diabetes program, so far people have gone through it. 68% have reduced weight over 1 year. 1 out of 3 of those 200 people made their goal of 5%, at least 5% goal over a year. And what is better is 7 out of 10 participants improve A1C over 1 year. So hemoglobin A1C, as some of you, it's a 3-month average glucose. It's not just 1 day fasting, but it's 3-month average glucose, and it's not easy to change it that much. But 7 out of 10 have changed it. We have people who have gone through our program, and those testimonials are on our website, that they were not doing lifestyle changes. They came to us, they did lifestyle changes, and their medications reduced. Also, in some cases, the A1C came down while on medication from 10 to 6 point something, and then the medication got dropped. Not completely dropped, but at least there was a positive it was moving towards the right direction. So what is the secret sauce in all of this? That we really feel that, coaching makes a lot of difference. Here, I would like to present one case study. Meet Mr. Venkata Pegatraju. He has given us a testimonial, and that's why he has given us a permission to share this with you. So he came to us, first time he came to us was in August 2017. At the time, he was 40 years old. He had no family history of heart disease. He was not taking any medication or did not have coronary artery disease or diabetes. He lives in California with his wife and 2 young children and works as a senior IT project manager. So when he came in at that time, he opted out of coaching. Life was too busy with 2 young girls, family, and very high demanding job with, a lot of work hours. He felt that he was going to do it on his own, and he didn't opt into coaching. As I have told you, we follow up all our participants every year thereafter. So in September 2019, 2 years into the program, he connected with us. He kept up his appointment, and as he was talking to us and did a test, he realized that he had gained weight. His blood pressure numbers were higher, his triglycerides were higher, and at that time he did a calcium score. I think few slides back, I forgot to mention the calcium score as a part of the advanced test. So for men over 40 and women over 45, if you have more than 2 lifestyle, more than 2 risk markers, then they are advised to do the calcium score. And what calcium score is, it's a non-invasive way to find the calcification in the arteries, to find whether or not you have a calcified arteries. So he found out that his arteries were already calcified. And one thing I want to mention here, that sometimes, we start this making lifestyle changes, not necessarily at age of 18, 20, but as we start, becoming 35, 40, 45. But please remember that plaque starts happening right at age 19. So it's not just about how you are eating right now, how you are exercising right now, but it's how you were doing it right from your child, like adulthood. So these were his risk markers. So he, after finding this out, he decided that he was going to join coaching, and he started coaching, working with us. And in 6 months, through the lifestyle changes, he lost 19 pounds. He initiated into meditation. He started eating more greens than grains, and then he started sleeping more. His sleep habits were less than 6 hours of sleep. He started sleeping more, and then there was a commendable difference in his lifestyle and the weight loss that followed. Now, because of coronavirus, right now he has not done the test, but I'm pretty positive that all these lifestyle changes. And one thing that he did was he decided to invest his money for getting a treadmill at home, and that was a right decision in January, because none of us knew February COVID was going to happen and gyms were going to be closed. But that helped him really to continue doing his exercise at home. Anyway, that's using machine is not the only way to exercise. We can always exercise by walking or at home also. And there are ways that we work with people, with sharing some information about how to exercise, even if you have just a small room to exercise. But he did make a remarkable difference. So why does Aim to Prevent approach work? Just to recap what we discussed, this is a unique risk assessment, which is comprehensive, individual recommendations, not generic. So what I mean is, recommendations could be same, because we are still at the end of the day saying eat healthy, exercise, sleep 7 to 8 hours. But what becomes personal is when you start working with a coach, the baby step goals that you start working with a coach with, that's what becomes the personalizing your program. Because 2 people may have similar recommendations, but they all start at different levels. And based on that, their personal goals, their personal things that they would want to change will be different. Then they have consultations and workshops by subject matter experts. There is a personal coach, as I talked about. And this is very easily doable and adaptable, science-backed and culturally tailored. We do have a dietitian who understands South Asian diet completely, who understand the dynamics of a South Asian family, where we could be having guests staying with us for a long time. We could have parents visiting us and staying with us, where, when the food gets cooked, everybody has to be considered when the food gets cooked, right? And then it's a proven methodology, as I showed you with the results, and incredible value. So we often get asked, how is it different from annual physical? So I wanted to just show you very quickly that we already talked about advanced and comprehensive evaluation, lifestyle counseling, 4 workshops, 12 one-on-one coaching sessions, and lifelong yearly wellness checkup. These are the calls I'm talking about every year thereafter. And at any point in time, you can come back into the program. You could go through the program, make some changes, or decide not to opt into coaching, but later on, when the time is right, when you are ready to make the changes, that's when you come back into coaching again. So we are always here for you and to work with you. So this we have already covered enough, so I'll go to the next. So have you found your secret sauce? As I was telling you before, there are, this handful of individuals who are very self-motivated, do-it-yourself kind, and once they have a knowledge, they will change their lifestyle, and they will do everything up, by themselves. They have that drive, they have that motivation. Some people choose to go to some residence program, like in India, there is a Jindal program, or here there are other resident programs. But that becomes like time away from home and work. And there, you are given the exercise routine, yoga routine, meditation routine, and the food is cooked for you. So it's kind of simulated and regimented. We have nothing against that program. If it works for you and you are able to sustain those changes when you come back, well and good. But we have also seen amongst some of our participants that things change when they go into check into the residence program, but when they come back, life happens. Again, you get into your busy routine, kids, whatever is happening around us, and then it's hard to sustain those lifestyle, things that are taught to you. And then the other programs are very extreme programs, very intense, extreme lifestyles. So the research shows that they work for a short period of time, and they also focus on what not to versus what to do. In our philosophy is work with the food that you like to eat, but then kind of work with you to show you how to eat it in the right quantity. So we are not asking you to not eat something, or it's a diet that you like to follow. And again, this is a lifestyle program and not diet. Diets come and go, but the lifestyle is something that you adhere to throughout your life. So here there are no dietary restrictions, focus on planning, building skills, and facilitated by the coach. So let's look at the plate method. Some takeaway for you. So if you look at the plate, this is really a simple visual how to framework to plate your food. Even if you just starting today, start eating by plate method, you will start seeing the changes in yourself. So what is plate method? So if we start with a 9-inch plate, then we are saying the 1/4 of the plate is grains, whole grains. 1/4 of the plate is protein, where it could be your dal, lentils, legumes, beans, or it could be yogurt, paneer, or the lean meat. And then the other 50% of the plate is vegetables. So here in the plate, because we are in US, we have shown some salad, but it doesn't have to be salad. It could be all cooked vegetables too if you don't like salad, or it could be all salad, whatever vegetables. And when we say vegetables, we are talking about non-starchy vegetables. So vegetables like potatoes, peas, corn, sweet potato go in the grain section. They are not in the vegetable section. So later on, or you can just chat in the chat box, how many of you currently feel that you are eating by plate method? Now in the grain is a little bit deceiving. So I just want to give out a little bit information there. So when we are counting grain serving, it's, we look at the fist size, and one fist size is 3 servings of grain. So if you are eating rice size of the fist, or if you are like a size of a tennis ball, then it's getting counted as 3 servings of grain. Or 1 6-inch roti, 1 medium size idli, 1 dosa is considered 1 grain serving. So let's look at meds one more time with some little bit of additional information. Meditation, we have already talked about daily practice of restful alertness. And the goal for meditation, what we talked about was that 20 minutes twice a day. So meditation is really important, and that's why it is, it is at number 1 position. And if you think you cannot find time to do so, once you experience the value, you will not be able to not do it. That's what people tell us. And practitioners notice benefits right away. It can have a positive impact on all your other risk markers, and everything else will start falling in place, like I told you before. Exercise is, the mantra is first regular, then varied, and then vigorous, correct? And then what are the exercise goals? So we already talked about 30 minutes 5 times a week exercise routine. That's a cardio exercise of 150 minutes, not a weekend warrior, not a long weekend hike for 2-3 hours and nothing during the daytime, during the weekdays. The research shows that if you exercise a lot on the weekend but then not on the weekday, then it doesn't help you with the risk markers. Also, in addition to cardio exercise, all of us do need to do the strength training 2 times per week, at least 2 times a week. And this strength training could be, that does not mean you need to lift lot of weights. It could be using your own body weight. It could be doing simple things as squats, lunges, push-ups, pull-ups. If you can't do full push-ups, half push-ups on the floor. If you can't go on the floor, you can just go by the wall, have your both hands on the wall, stay, kind of feet away from the wall, and you can even do the upper arm exercise by the wall. But doing it is more important. Some sort of a strength training is important, because when we do strength training, we are priming our muscles to absorb that blood glucose. And that really, really helps with the hemoglobin A1C numbers too. And besides the strength training, American Diabetes Association 2 years back came up with this new guideline of 30 minutes of sedentary time. So they are encouraging us to get up every 30 minutes. And sitting, to the point where people call now sitting is new smoking. And that doesn't mean that, you leave work and go somewhere. So even if you are, sitting down and attending your meetings or whatever, you can just stand up after 30 minutes, between 30 minutes to 1 hour, and just stretch it while you attend the meeting. Or if you're on the phone, you can walk a little bit. So right now also, or you could, a lot of us are working from home and investing into this desk, standing, sitting desk that goes on top of your regular desk is a great investment, which helps you to stand more. Like right now, as I'm talking to you, I'm standing and delivering this. If all of you are sitting, I would really like to request each and every one of you to just get up wherever you are and just, wiggle your hands, wiggle your feet, and just break that sitting, because it has been more than 30 minutes that people may be sitting. And last exercise recommendation is 15-minute walk after each meal. This comes into picture more so for people who are pre-diabetic, people have a diagnosis of diabetes. This 15-minute walk after meal really, really helps you to bring your blood glucose numbers down. Because when you are sedentary after a meal, after a meal when we eat, our blood glucose rises, right? It's absorbed in the blood, glucose level rise. But when you walk, your muscles get to work, and then your muscles need energy. And where do they get their energy from? Is by absorbing the glucose in the blood. Like I'm telling you, really, really simple in layman's term. So when muscles absorb that glucose, automatically glucose spike goes down, and that really, really helps you with that. Now, thirdly, let's look at diet. Our mantra was more greens than grains, and the plate method that I showed you was very good example of that. So for every 1 serving of grain, eating 2 servings of vegetables, if you eat it in that manner, in that plate method, you'll always eat more greens than grains. And along with that mantra, what is our goal? Let's look at that 0, 1, 2, 12. So only one thing that we ask you not to do is 0 sugary drinks. This does not mean we are saying don't eat any sweet at all. But what happens is drinks like tea, coffee, soda, soda, not so much in the Indian community, but more than that, tea and coffee gets, we have it multiple times in a day. And that it's not just 1 teaspoon of sugar once a day, but it happens multiple times in a day. So we work with people to, kind of break that habit of adding sugar or any sugar substitutes. They all come into the same pile. Actually, we encourage people to not eat sugar substitute. If you have to eat real sugar, honey, whatever, but not the sugar substitute, because they increase the insulin resistance. Then eating 1 fistful of fruit every day. So again, fist, as I told you before, if you can see my hand, I hope you can see my hand. You close your fist and look at your fist, wrist upwards, and look at the volume of the fist. We are all born with our own measuring cup. We don't need to go in the kitchen search for 8 ounce measuring cup. So person with a small build will have a small fist, person with a large build will have a larger fist. So this is your 1 fist. And the grains you eat, the protein, dals and lentils that you eat, or the vegetables you eat, they all get measured by the fist size. So it's very eyeball method kind of a thing, and it's easy to follow. There are no counting calories and there are no counting anything else. So at least 1 fistful of fruit a day, and at least 2 fistful of fist. Again, fistful is not what goes inside the fist, but it's the volume of the fist. 2 fistful of vegetables and 12 nuts daily, and the plate method that we discussed before. And sleep, a routine of restful sleep, and the sleep recommendation is 7 to 8 hours. I have had participants that I have worked with where once they start changing their sleep habits, they were able to then eat healthy. Also, they had more energy to exercise. They are not tired or fatigued during the day. And the sleep time, ideal sleep time is, and we encourage people to be in bed by 11 o'clock. Our digestion is at the peak between 11 to 2, along with our, with the circadian rhythm. And if we allow our body to rest at 11 o'clock, between 11 to 2 in the 2 o'clock, then it really helps our digestion, and it helps us to digest that food better, and it helps us to improve our risk markers also. I wanted to give some examples of the plate method because it's hard for people to imagine how they could do different variety of fruit. None of us eat, roti, sabji or dal rice every day. So suppose the plate on the left, I'm showing 2 idlis and a sambar with tons of vegetable in it. And then in addition to that, this is all raw vegetables that I have added, like carrots, radish, onion, and some celery, anything, any vegetables. So then again, even sambar has protein, the dal has protein. Idli also has grain as well as protein, and then you are adding lots of vegetables in the sambar and eating vegetables on the side. It will make you like a plate method. The plate on the right is shown. If you see closely, you can see some vegetables like green beans and carrots inside the rice also. There are extra broccoli, steamed broccoli around the plate. And in that bowl, I know you can't see it properly, but there is yogurt with cucumber in it. So there you go with your plate method again. There are enough vegetables, twice the amount of rice, and there is yogurt with a vegetable, and yogurt counts as your protein. So that is again by plate method. Sometimes on the weekend, you feel like just having a brunch, an omelette and a toast. And there is nothing wrong with it. I can again make a plate method with my omelette too. It's a 1 egg omelette with, as you can see, some of onion, cilantro inside the egg. And then these are sauteed vegetables. Just quickly, 5 minutes. It only takes 5 minutes to saute those different colored peppers and then spring onions, asparagus, green beans, whatever vegetables you like, mushrooms. And then there is at least more than a fist size of vegetable inside that. I have one toast and then few berries as my fruit and some nuts. So again, I can have my omelette and toast, but in that plate method format. And this is like something like close to Mexican food, like enchilada. So a portion, one size portion of enchilada, there is avocado, guacamole, and some salad with lots of colorful salad. So again, I can eat whichever cuisine I want. I can eat, as long as I'm eating whole grains and adding vegetables to it, then and the protein, then my plate method is done, and I don't have to worry about whether I'm eating more greens than grains. This plate I'm showing because on the right side of the plate, it's a dish that we Maharashtrians make out of sweet potato. It's a savory dish made out of sweet potato. If you notice, this plate has no grain because sweet potato is a starchy vegetable. So that goes in that 1/4 portion of the grain. In the katori, you see some, that day I had made some cottage cheese, and I have some mint and cucumber and some peanuts in it. And then on the left hand side, you see additional vegetables. So there is vegetable in that katori. There are vegetables on the side, and sweet potato also has good fiber. Even though it goes in the grain section, it has that added fiber, which helps with my extra vegetable count too. So I would like to share Dr. Vivek Murthy's video. Dr. Vivek Murthy was our 19th Surgeon General, and he visited us 2-3 years back, and he wrote a beautiful letter to us, and I would really like you to listen to him. And I would start that, and before I do that, go to the video, I would just like to say that go to our website. If you have any questions, you can email us sahc@elcaminohealth.org, or my personal email address is my first name _ last name @elcaminohealth.org. And I would share that Sim has my email address, Sim and Sonia, that they can share it with you, and I'll be happy to answer any of the questions. And again, there is a summary on the right hand side of what you get for Aim to Prevent program. And I would like to say, do your part and care for your heart, and stay heart disease and diabetes free. So let me share my other video. It's only 2 minutes video. Why is it not letting me share the screen? Hold on for a second, okay? I'm sorry, it's not. Oh, okay.
Dear Dr. Molina, Mr. Mathur, and the South Asian Heart Center staff, volunteers, and supporters, thank you for the opportunity to join you on this day of celebration. While I regret I could not be with you in person, I'm grateful to have this opportunity to share a few thoughts with you. More than a decade ago, you created the South Asian Heart Center with a lofty vision for improving the health of the South Asian community. You saw that heart disease was disproportionately affecting South Asians, leading to heart attacks, disability, and lives lost. You also recognized that many of these tragic events could have been prevented if only evidence-based prevention measures had been brought to the community in a culturally appropriate manner. Admirably, you took it upon yourself to build an institution that would close the gap between what our community had and what it needed to prevent disease and save lives. In the years that followed, you brought this vision to life. You enrolled more than 7,000 community members in your prevention programs. You recruited and trained an impressive team of volunteers who work with participants to translate data and advice into real lifestyle change. You collected invaluable data that will help us better understand and address diabetes and heart disease. Thanks to you, lives are being changed for the better. As a South Asian American, I thank you for your dedication and devotion to caring for our community. You have inspired many clinicians, public health leaders, and community members with your commitment and impact. Your work will continue to be important, not just to South Asians in the United States, but also to diaspora communities across the world that are struggling with high rates of heart disease and diabetes. As you celebrate your accomplishments and reflect on the future, I hope you will never forget how vital your work is to the health of the South Asian community. Thank you for your pioneering leadership. Thank you for your courage. And thank you for your determination to save lives. I wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you everybody for listening to me for last 40 some minutes.
Thank you very much, Anita. It was really very informative and